Greetings. By virtue of your presence watching this video today, I want you to know that we consider you to be an extended member of our family at Unity in Linwood. We believe that you are an individualized expression of that one creative impetus which stands behind all life. And as such, we celebrate the uniqueness which you are, and we celebrate our unity with you. We are glad you're with us. It's very nice to see you. It's very nice to see you. It's very nice to see you. I just returned from a week of sharing really big ideas with really big minds about really big things. And I thought to myself, how nice would it be simply to be able to come together with you this morning and just have a conversation, just to chat about the amazing events and the incredible ideas which were shared. But alas, we have a plan, so I will not deviate from the plan. But if I were to make one exception, there was an incredibly scientific presentation by a man named Reverend David MacArthur in which he presented the idea that the days of the experience of wisdom being the sole propriety of the brain are done. That there is, in fact, something of an involvement of the heart of humanity in the experience of wisdom. And as I said, this is a scientific presentation. You see, this electromagnetic center that we call the heart is measurable. And when a heart is in stress, when it is in fear, when the conversation between the heart and that amygdalic self are engaged, you might be able to run faster, but you will be stupider. And that it's only as we return the heart to what is called coherence that we avail ourselves to higher wisdom. He goes so far as to say that this measurable electromagnetic field is most palpable within 4 feet of another human being, and that we are richly capable of affecting each other and blessing each other through the quality of our heart, particularly so when we touch someone's hand. What do you think of that? So when you walk into a center such as this on a Sunday morning and you find yourself saying, this feels like home, you might think you're having a spiritual experience, but you're also having a scientific one. What do you think of that? And if I were to make 2 exceptions, we had the rich opportunity, a blessing, to study with a man whose name is Paul Smith. He's a Kansas City Baptist preacher and Bible scholar. He ran a church called Broadway Baptist for a number of years. It is now known as Broadway Church. You see, they lost the Baptist part. I'm not certain whose decision that was. I do have a sneaking suspicion, however. And he presented a piece of scholarship which was new to me. And it was this, that when the rabbi, in the early experience that would become Christianity, and of course that's what it was an experience long before it became a religion, when the rabbi spoke of that which is greater, spoke of God as Abba, as a familiar term denoting something akin to Papa, in that tradition, in that language, are you ready for this? It would have denoted the corporate head of a family. And the corporate head of a family in that culture, in that language, would have included both masculine and feminine. It would have included mother and father. How much of a game changer is it to realize that in no way was Jesus speaking of God as being masculine? He was not trying to identify gender. He was attempting to describe the nature of the relationship between humanity and that which is greater. What do you think? It was a great week. I attended a Roman Catholic funeral mass yesterday. And the priest started the service by saying, in the spirit of Gene Cullen, I would like to welcome all people. I would like to welcome people from every religious tradition and from no spiritual tradition whatsoever to today's service. And I thought to myself, unity, good job. Good job. Well done. It was deeply moving to be a part of that. Thank you for indulging me. If, on the other hand, I were to make a third exception, and if you find yourself staying awake at night, as I do, wondering what exactly does a Green Star Award for Environmental Excellence look like, though it be dappled with coffee stains, we will get a new one. We will get a new one. Or if you have found yourself wondering, what exactly does a Unity Worldwide Ministries ordination certificate look like, you are welcome to come up and have a look. Oh, goodness. Power to the people. Today's power. This month's power is imagination. Quite simply put it as this: your capacity to see beyond this world of appearances. Can you imagine something beyond this world of effects? The answer is yes. Say yes for me, please. If you would like to discuss how this power of imagination is showing up in your world, you are welcome to join licensed Unity teacher and director of prayer ministries, Barbara Thorpe, for a discussion in my office following this service. It's called Power to the People, and all are welcome. As part of our new program, Interfaith at UIL, please consider two events next Saturday, June 24th, and please listen carefully, because we have communicated multiple times for each one of these. Please accept my apologies. At 11 o'clock a.m. And by that, I mean 11 o'clock a.m., join Rabbi Ted Falcon for an event he calls Spiritual Saturdays. With music, meditation, and teaching, Rabbi Ted continues his focus on spiritually supportive responses to these stressful times. And at 5:30 p.m., and by that, I mean 5:30 p.m. Father Dan Duval offers an inclusive Eucharistic liturgy, which is open to all, regardless of previous or present tradition or affiliation. Experience what he calls an accepting ritual in the Franciscan tradition of unity and hospitality. Will you wave to these kind people, please, Father Dan Duval? I understand that tickets to One Voice, an interfaith choral event scheduled for Friday, June 30th at 7 o'clock p.m. are gone. How wonderful is it that we have arrived at a point in our development at which if you want to attend a Unity in Linwood event, you better get on the ball, right? Isn't that beautiful? So, if you wanted a ticket and you didn't get one, please call the office. We will do a double check of the number of seats we have and the number of tickets issued on your behalf. Feel free to call the office. Every service has an ambassador. This person's role is to assist you in your discovery and exploration of this idea we call Unity in Linwood. If you have a question about who we are, about what we believe, about what we teach, you are yet again welcome to engage this noble soul in conversation that they may have a face to put with a name. Would you wave Nan Allen? Practical spirituality, welcoming community. It is our mission statement. It is short. I already know that. You don't have to tell me. And so it is that every week I like to support this with one of the 6 bullet points which we developed in conversation with your Board of Trustees. Take a deep breath. See if this is a spiritual value, a divine argument, a position in consciousness, if you will, with which you align. It reads as follows: we seek to discover and share spiritual practices which are repeatable and reliable and to infuse these spiritual practices into every arena of daily life. Fair enough? In her own words, I was once an emaciated little woman upon whom relatives and doctors had placed the stamp tuberculosis. And this was only one of the ailments. There were others considered well beyond help. Born Mary Carolyn Page, Unity co-founder Myrtle Fillmore was in her 40s when she had exhausted all of the medical resources of her day. So she and her husband, the skeptical Charles Fillmore, come on guys. The skeptical Charles Fillmore attended a lecture by Dr. E.B. Weeks, at which she heard the time-honored saying, "You are a child of God, you do not inherit illness," words which would become the impetus for her life and for her ministry. From that point, she spent hours each day speaking to her body, reading, healing stories, praying, and eventually she turned to Charles and said, "I am healed and so are you." And she was right. I think that occurred on Father's Day. I'm not sure. I think that it could have been Father's Day. It could have been Father's Day. There's my Father's Day tie-in. Could have been. Could have been. I'm going to check on that maybe a little bit. And as others began to notice the transformations of Myrtle and Charles, they began to ask questions. I know I would have done the same. And to request prayer work for themselves. And many of them began to experience similar results. It's been documented that even a young boy regained his sight. Soon enough, there were too many requests for the Fillmores to personally address, so they began to invite others to join them in prayer at a specified time every evening. And so were established the roots of what we today would call silent unity. And for over 40 years, the Fillmores guided and nurtured this new organization from a handful of workers in 1890 to over 500 professional prayers, if you will, by the time of Myrtle's death in 1931. And after 125 years of 24/7 prayer, uninterrupted prayer, Silent Unity continues to pray with people of all faiths from all parts of the world by telephone, giving you lots of time to write that down, TikTok, by postal mail, by email, and now through the You Pray free app. If you haven't downloaded it, it's pretty great. Thank you. Yes, it's pretty great. And of course, you may join others from this community in prayer from wherever you happen to be every Thursday evening at 8 o'clock. Her quotes include, "Sometimes we pray to God outside ourselves. It is the God in the midst of us that frees and heals." And this, prayer is an exercise to change our thought habits in accord with the divine law rather than with the suggestions we have received from various sources. Or how about this one? When we let light flood us, all clouds vanish, and we begin to see ourselves in new ways of doing, which lead to wholeness and health and satisfaction and growth. Or how about this? I don't believe in evil, I believe in good. I don't believe in sin, I believe in truth. I don't believe in want, I believe in abundance. I don't believe in death, I believe in life. And I don't believe in ignorance, I believe in intelligence. I like that one. And my favorite, we wave aside past mistakes. We wave aside past mistakes. I love that one. I love this one because I I think that in our New Thought churches, we are not immune to some portion of the same guilt and shame of the organizations from which most of us so eagerly fled. It's just that we have replaced the guilt of disobedience with the guilt of lack, and we have replaced the shame of inadequacy with the shame of disease. We have so misdirected our beautiful teachings that at those junctures in life at which people need the support of spiritual community the most, they leave. When the finances hit bottom, the guilt becomes unbearable. And when the body hits bottom, the shame becomes intolerable. And they lock themselves away, literally, if not figuratively, self-flagellating with questions such as, what is it in my consciousness that created that? And in such moments, it appears that all we've managed to do is to displace the judgmental and punitive man in the sky with his counterpart in our own hearts, thinly cloaked in a veil of pretty words such as accountability and responsibility. I love this quote because I infer neither shame nor guilt in the words of Myrtle Fillmore. We wave aside past mistakes. She continues, we fix undivided attention upon the Creator and the inner pattern of perfection. In this lies the success of spiritual treatment. She continues, this health law is threefold. Spiritual, described as keeping a person assured of his God-given freedom from all anxiety, worry, fear, and lack. Mental, described as giving her the intelligence that enables her to do that which promotes health and success. And physical, described as forming those habits which keep him and her, keep them making right use of faculties and powers and the life, energy, and substance. She concludes, our work is to unify these three and to bring our students into an understanding, application of what she calls the truth of being. And it's from this message of unification, it's from this message of holism that I introduce today's lesson. For we've all known someone for whom life is an exclusively spiritual experience. Affirmations cover his bathroom mirror and his dashboard and his refrigerator. Thumbtacked to the ceiling of his bedroom are mind boards and vision maps covered with pictures of Maseratis and muscles and mantras. We've all known someone who prays for health but remains unwilling to address his addiction, who prays for relationship but remains unwilling to leave the house, who prays for supply but remains unwilling to apply for a job. Countless people pray for a fuller expression of this experience we call life but remain unwilling to loose the comforting shackles of mediocrity. We've all known someone for whom life is an exclusively spiritual exercise, but Mrs. Fillmore effectively says that's not enough. And we've all known someone for whom this experience of life is an exclusively mental exercise. This person attends every class. She arrives early, completed assignment in hand, spiral bound. He requests extra credit during break of the first class. These people usually sit on the front row. Okay. Usually, you own it. Okay, thank you. And yet it is self-evident that the ability to dazzle others at cocktail parties with a stunning display of self-awareness is only partial in our ability to enjoy lasting change. The world is brimming with those who apologize for the same behaviors over and over and over. So we've all known someone for whom life is an exclusively mental exercise, but Mrs. Fillmore effectively says that's not enough. And we've all known those for whom life is an exclusively physical experience. Oh, how our society does glorify the doers. We've all known someone for whom life is an ongoing checklist of accomplishments, more degrees, more titles, more sales, more awards, more dollars. more relationships, more YouTube viewers, more Facebook followers. We've all known someone for whom life has become the compulsive pursuit of something without, for whom life has become nothing more than the frenetic navigation of an earthly maze, driven by nothing more than the intoxicating pursuit of some cosmic piece of cheese. And Mrs. Fillmore effectively says, that's not enough. She describes it further. One who remembers and lives by the spiritual will not worry or seek to manage other people's affairs or neglect to feed his or her soul. One who is aware of the mental seeks to keep himself free from the limitations of the race mind, the opinions and demands of others, the depressions and hurried attitudes that keep Christ ideas from finding perfect expression through his thoughts and acts, and one who is determined that his physical life will show forth the peace and order of spiritual reality and divine intelligence, is considerate of his body, careful in his demands upon it. He sees to it that he understands the physical requirements and that he meets these every day. One who strikes a balance in his threefold being is truly blessed. So it is that I welcome each of you to the third in a series I've called Hands and Feet, a series which includes platform interviews with people who are being the hands and feet of an emerging consciousness in the world of form. Given Mrs. Fillmore's words, I found those of today's guest to be particularly poignant. And I quote, "True health is taking mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, and energetic health into account. My goal is that my listeners will gain all of the tools they need to improve health in all areas of life." Doesn't that sound like the same idea? Yeah, say yes. At 19, she was told by an MD and an endocrinologist, that she couldn't have children. Through her 20s, she struggled with hormone issues, diabetes, weight gain, regular infections, and chronic fatigue. In 2011, she turned to naturopathic holistic medicine for answers. Since then, her hormone issues have ceased, her diabetes has reversed, her infections have stopped, her energy has returned, and what's more, after 6 years of trying, she and her husband had a baby. Her podcast is called Learn True Health with Ashley James. Will you offer her a warm Unity and Linwood welcome, please? Bless you.
Thank you.
This was awesome at 9 o'clock. She's got good stuff for you.
The second service is even better.
I like you. So last week, her podcast, a top-rated podcast, last Sunday had just crossed 1.2 million downloads.
Each episode gets between 10 and 20,000 downloads in its first month after being released. We've been number one in iTunes in the new noteworthy section for health, for science and medicine, and second in education for about 15 months now. Since just weeks after we launched, we reached number one, and we've held the position.
I love that. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's more Facebook viewers than we have. So you write, mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, and energetic health, taking all of these into account. Which would you like to talk about?
Well, after interviewing so many, I have 140 episodes right now. I've interviewed a lot of naturopaths and holistic healthcare practitioners, and what I've learned from all of them is one isn't exclusive without the other. If you're really going to achieve true health, you need to look at every aspect. And I'll give an example. Anxiety. If you have anxiety over something and you let it persist, maybe it interrupts your sleep. An interruption of sleep causes the endocrine system to go out of balance, causes the body to not heal properly. You wake up exhausted. Then it's easier to have those negative emotions and limiting decisions that kind of like self-talk perpetuate. And then you feel tired. So it's affected your energy. It's affected your physical state. It's affected your emotional state. It's affected your mental state. So something can manifest in one area, but it will affect every area. And so the best thing to do is when you're trying to heal something in your life is to look at it from and take time to heal every aspect of your life. You can't heal everything with more kale. But more kale will help.
Much as we might try. Oh, more kale. So Myrtle said that the spiritual self, the mental self, the physical self are fully integrated. And to attempt effectively to eliminate one or to avoid one or to ignore one. And you are saying the same thing.
Well, I'll think about it this way. When you go in the shower, do you like not wash one arm for your entire life? Can you imagine if we just like didn't wash this one underarm and didn't put deodorant there, and right? If we just only shampooed one half of our head, that is it's we think of physical hygiene, but there's spiritual hygiene, there's energetic hygiene, there's mental and emotional hygiene, and I think sometimes people think there's shame in seeking healing emotional or mental things. I'm a student of neurolinguistic programming. I'm a master practitioner and trainer, and part of NLP is understanding that we're pursuing excellence. And if you're in the pursuit of excellence, then don't judge yourself where you are. Just go, hey, here's where I am, and here's where I want to be, and there's a gap. And just acknowledge the gap. Don't blame yourself or shame yourself. There's a gap, and then you find the tools to get to excellence in every area of your life.
You have a bit of an experience you would like to lead these people in this morning, yes?
Yes, absolutely. So in healing, I think anxiety is something that a lot of people suffer from. And anxiety, we can have little anxiety, like a 1 out of 10. And then there's some people who get on medication because it's taken over. And so I have a technique that 100% of the time, I've been doing it since 2005 with my clients, and 100% of the time it works. So how would you like to learn a technique to eliminate anxiety? Okay, great. Now I'd like you to go ahead and just raise your hand if in the last week you've had anxiety, a 1 out of 10, a 10 out of 10. Okay, so we have a lot of people who've had this experience of anxiety. So I want you to understand is that anxiety is not an emotion unlike all the others. So you think anger, sadness, fear, hurt, guilt. Those can be emotions of the past. You can think about an event in the past and still feel anger in your physical body, but you can't think of something in the past and still feel anxiety, because anxiety is not an emotion. It's a message from your unconscious mind. It's a message from your soul and your heart to ask you, are you focusing on what you want? You see, we're magnificent manifestors. And so when we start to think of what we don't want to have happen, like let's say we have a test and I don't want to fail, I don't want to fail, I don't want to fail, I don't want to fail. What we're actually focusing on is failing, 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 failing. And then our soul or spirit says, I can help you achieve what you focus on, but wait, this is the spiritual red light on the dashboard saying, do you really want to achieve that? Do you really want to achieve what you're focusing on? And so that's what anxiety is. It's actually, you should embrace anxiety because it's a message asking you, are you focusing on what do you want? And so what I'd like you to do is go ahead and close your eyes. And I'd like you to think of something in the future for which you feel anxiety right now when you think of it. So go ahead, something in the future when you feel anxiety. It could be small, it could be big. Now what I want you to do is I want you to float above yourself and float 15 minutes past the successful completion of that event. And look down on that event. Now, where's the anxiety? If you still have anxiety, put your hand up. And it's okay. If you still have anxiety, put your hand up. Okay, good. So what I want you to do is, if you still have anxiety, ask yourself, what am I anxious of right now? Now, I want you to go ahead and float 15 minutes past the successful completion. I had one person who was anxious of their death, and I had them float 15 minutes past the successful completion of their death. And their anxiety went away. So when the anxiety stays, you didn't either imagine the successful completion. Maybe you imagined an unsuccessful completion, or you didn't go past the thing you're anxious about. So is there anyone that still has anxiety? No, good. Come back to the room and open your eyes. Now, anytime you feel anxiety, what I want you to do is take a minute. Look how that was 30 seconds. Take a minute and go, what am I anxious about? And then float 15 minutes past the successful completion. Because here's the thing. Some people say, well, it's not real. You told me to see the successful completion, but that's not real. Well, the unsuccessful completion isn't real either. It hasn't happened yet. So if you focus, when you're driving and there's an accident in front of you, or maybe there's a rock in the road, you don't watch that and focus on that. No, you look to where you want to drive to avoid it, not where you don't want to drive. So just take anxiety as the message from your heart, your body, your soul, to ask. It's asking you, are you focusing on what you really want?
I wonder if we are speaking about very similar things using different language. David MacArthur offered a technique last week, in which he said, hold that question. And you know the one, that question that's up for you. Hold that question. And holding that question, touch your heart. Take a couple deep breaths. Bring to mind that which fills you with gratitude. This can be something from the past. But cultivate the consciousness of gratitude. And then from this consciousness, present a sincere question. And that sincere question is some iteration of, what would an effective response to this be? Sounds similar.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Ashley's list of guests is an amazing who's who. It will be time well spent. You may find her on the internet by searching Learn True Health.
You got it. Learn True Health.
Ashley James.
And
Please.
I'm going to be having a very special guest next week on the show.
Is that next week already?
Uh-huh.
Oh, I'm so nervous.
And so my podcast can be found on iTunes. It can also be found going to learntruehealth.com. What I'd love is I recorded a very powerful guided meditation, which I normally sell. I don't want to sell it to you. I want to give it to you. And in exchange, what I'd love for you to do is take time to go to iTunes and subscribe, listen to an episode, and give me a 5-star rating, and write a review and give me a 5-star rating. And what this does is it helps promote the podcast. It's free, by the way. The podcast is free. It helps promote it so it reaches more people, so we can help heal more people and get this information out to more people. So you'll be helping more people.
Will you thank Ashley James with me, please? I've forgotten that that's next week. So what I'd like is for everyone to visualize 15 seconds past the successful completion of that interview. Will you do that with me? Oh, I love being with you. Thank you for being with me this morning. Thanks again for joining us. Please visit unityandlinwood.org for a preview of all upcoming classes, services, and events, and for an opportunity to make a gift to our community should you so choose. Thank you.